Hi, I'm Lily Genovese. I'm the coordinator for Trout in the Classroom here in New York City and the New York City watersheds. It's a cold and snowy day up in the watershed today. I'm visiting our virtual think tank and our little brook and brown trout that are in here today. If you remember last week, I was trying to figure out a way to keep our brook and brown trout separated from one another because they're different species. They actually can't coexist in the same tank. And I had a teacher from a local school drop off this very cool barrier that I'm going to be using in there. It's actually rigid plastic. It has holes drilled into it, and the holes have a mesh material that's covering them. So this allows for circulation in the tank, so we'll have an even temperature because our chiller and the flow of the water will make everything uniform in the tank, and also the filtration will make sure that the tank is clean enough for the fish as well. So thank you to Rickawamsee Squaw School and their teacher, Mr. Taka, who made this really cool fish barrier for us. We'll be putting that in as soon as our brook trout are ready to leave their nest basket. I'm going to switch over the camera so everyone can see the brook trout in their little nest basket. So here are our little brook trout hanging out in their nest basket. You can see some of them are at the bottom of the nest basket, some of them are hanging out at the top. It looks like they're ready to eat. So we're going to give them a little tiny bit of food and see how they react. I see some of them swimming up. A little bit curious about the food. And our brown trout are swimming up too. They are definitely eating, snagging some of the food from the bottom of that nest basket. While we were watching those trout, you might notice how effortless it looks for them to be moving up and down in the water column. In streams and rivers, and even in the trout tank, trout are able to just move up and down in the water column without much effort. So this is because they have a very cool organ inside their body. It's called a swim bladder. It's almost like a balloon. So I have this inflated glove here. Their swim bladder can be filled with air or it can deflate. And that's what controls where they are in the water column. So fill this glove up with some air. If the trout inflate their swim bladder, they'll float up to the surface. The air displaces the water and makes them more buoyant in the water column. So they'll float up. And when they release all the air from that swim bladder, they will sink down. So they become less buoyant. The swim bladder is it's an organ that we don't have. Although we share a lot of similarities with trout in terms of our internal anatomy, the swim bladder is a unique organ that they have. It's actually attached to their intestines, so they can control the amount of air that they have in there. So they'll gulp the air through their mouth and their gills, and they'll direct it towards their swim bladder when they're ready to move up and down in the water column. So another reason why trout are really amazing, cool creatures. Thank you for joining me for our virtual think tank, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.